We finally know what is going on with Gemma down on the testing floor, and it's really quite tragic. I don't think anyone would ever describe this show as being lighthearted by any sense of the word, but this episode just so happens to be, I think, one of the most heartbreaking, brutal, heavy episodes that we have seen thus far. Let's discuss episode 7 of Severance. Perhaps the biggest mystery, next to what the hell those numbers are, is what happened to Mark's wife, Gemma. We know that she did not die in a car accident. We know that she works at Lumen, but we really don't understand what is going on. Why is she there? In this episode, we spend most of the runtime on the testing floor, following Gemma and seeing just what she's been up to since we last saw her, and it's not pretty. It appears that the testing floor is made up of many, many rooms. I'm guessing hundreds. It looks like an insane amount of rooms, and it appears that each of these rooms has probably some kind of a barrier, kind of like the elevator has when they first go down, Mark and the MDR team, when they go down that elevator and they switch to the next person. That's kind of what's going on in each one of these rooms. Every time you open a door, if you've got one of those chips, you're going to change into a different person. And that's what they're doing with Gemma down here. And so far, it seems like it's exactly what it says it is, the testing floor. They are testing to see if the chip is truly working, if she goes into a room and doesn't really remember what happened, if she goes into a room and she feels pain, does she feel that pain when she leaves the room? Testing floor through and through, that is the name, and that is what's going on. What are they really testing? I mean, the chip has already been shown to clearly be working. All these employees that are working at Lumen, they're severed and it's all working out perfectly well. If they talk to their Audis, they know that they don't know what's going on down in Lumen, so what really is there to test? I guess you do have to be very thorough when you're about to roll something out. Maybe this chip has not been mass produced yet. Maybe it hasn't been released to the whole public, but maybe that is the overall plan. Maybe the plan is for this chip to become a commercial product. No, I didn't come up with that by myself, by the way. I read a theory online. It may be true, it may be false. We'll find out eventually. There is one constant in all these rooms that Gemma visits, and that is Dr. Moyer, a sinister man who apparently has been stalking and monitoring Gemma since before the car accident even happened. Because if you look at this scene when her and Mark go to the fertility clinic, well, you can see him clear as day just right when they first walk in. Was he working for Lumen at the time? Was this fertility clinic a Lumen clinic? In each of the rooms that Gemma visits, she encounters a different version of Dr. Moyer. But I cannot help but feel like his intention with her is not just about the science. It's not just about checking to see if the chip is working. I think he's like obsessed with her. And the reason I'm saying that is because there's a room where it's always Christmas. Poor girl. Nobody wants to live through always Christmas. But anyway, she's sitting there and she's signing these cards over and over again because they want to test Gemma on the outside to see, did you feel a cramp in your hand? Do you remember the torturing that we did to you? When Dr. Moyer is about to let her leave the room, he tells her, I love you. And when she doesn't immediately say it back, he stops and makes her say it to him.
Oop. I said.
And then later on, when he is talking with Gemma and she's saying, I want to leave, I want to go back to Mark, he tells her, no, Mark's already moved on, he's got another lady, he's actually got a kid, he doesn't really want you anymore, and maybe you've moved on too in one of these rooms. And I have to assume he's talking about the Christmas room where he managed to force her to say I love you, but I got news for you, bro, she only said that because you're a creepy, mad scientist doctor who won't let her leave. The love is just not real, trust me. It's quite clear that Gemma not only remembers Mark, but is actively hoping to get back to him. She's likely been promised that if she completes these tests, she'll get to leave and live her life with Mark. But after this guy basically tries to come up with excuses about why she shouldn't leave, it kind of becomes clear to Gemma that they're not gonna let me leave, so I gotta get out of here on my own. She knocks his punk ass down of a chair, and I was clapping when she did it. But as soon as I saw her step onto that elevator and it emerged at that black hallway, I knew that she had switched back into Miss Casey and that she was gonna not get anywhere. And I had a feeling a certain person was gonna show up just in time, and sure enough, the mother effer did. I swear there is a chance that Mr. Milchick is a victim in some kind of capacity. Maybe he's being forced into some of this as well, but just his condescending, just nasty nature, the way he sits back and just watches all these atrocities and what he's doing to Miss Casey, or Gemma, should I say, It's inexcusable, and I feel no sympathy for him. I just want him to meet his justice. We see a lot of flashbacks in this episode, and it really does help to paint a picture of Mark and Gemma's relationship. These two, they met at school, they fell in love, they had great chemistry together, they had some ups and downs, they had a miscarriage, they had trouble making a baby, which is a very real thing that I think a lot of people can connect to, and it's that problem, that issue of infertility that I think probably first puts them on the notice for Lumen to pay attention to that. So when you see Dr. Moyer at that fertility clinic, you see that Gemma is actually alive and in Lumen. It becomes clear that Lumen probably had something to do with that car accident. Actually, when they showed the cops approaching Mark's door and getting ready to talk to him, I kept wondering if one of those cops was going to be that guy that is Dr. Moyer. They didn't show his face, but I wouldn't be surprised if he was one of them. So why does Lumen want Gemma? Why does Lumen want Mark? What is it about Mark that makes him so important to them? Why is he the only one that can do Cold Harbor? And what the hell is Cold Harbor? We do see a door in that testing floor that Gemma is wandering around on. She talks about how she did not go through that door yet. She has no idea what's in there, and I'm just kind of wondering what's going on in there. If these rooms are all designed to test whether or not she remembers what's going on, to test that trauma and pain is totally being filtered out by this chip to make sure she has no memory when she leaves, well then it would stand to reason that there's something really bad inside of Cold Harbor, something that's going to be truly testing Gemma. She might even go in there and end up dying to some degree. We saw a room in this episode as well that is set up a lot like MDR, only these people seemed like they were just monitoring the MDR people. They were just sitting there watching a camera view of the MDR team working on their numbers. And what's going on with that? What are these people really doing? They're doing more than just monitoring, right? So tell me, what's going on? Put your theories about what this floor, these freaks are doing. Obviously they are at a different security level than MDR because the big burly man was hanging out in that room and speaking around them. Although, did you guys notice that when he was talking, those people, they didn't really even seem to act like they heard him? They weren't acknowledging him at all. Is it because he's so high up in the clearance that they are just scared to speak to him? Or did they not even literally hear him? Are those people extremely suffered as well? And in the outer world, Mark's sister and Regaby had just the dynamic I was expecting. I knew it would be fun seeing these two interact, and it totally was. And I get that his sister is freaked out about what she's finding out. She finds out that Mark got his, he's trying to undo his severance. There's some random lady living in his basement doing some mad scientist project.
You two are definitely related.
I get all the concerns with that, but why would she think that all those things result in her best choice of action being to call Miss Cobell, the woman that is so clearly still working at Lumen? It may be acting like she's fired, but I can tell you for sure she is not fired. There is a reason, as I've said before, that her face is in the opening credits looking down on everybody. She is some kind of a mastermind puppet string person, and that is the reason why Regaby, just at the very idea of his sister calling Miss Cobell, gets the hell out of Dodge. She's like, if you're gonna call that woman, I am out. Which just goes to show you how scared Regaby is of Cobell. Cobell must be capable of some really dark stuff. Or it could just be simply that Cobell represents Lumen and she knows what Lumen is capable of doing. By the end of this episode, Mark is awake. He seems dazed, but he is awake. Now we gotta find out, what does he remember? Does he remember everything? Or was he literally just spending the whole episode seeing those flashbacks that we saw? I kinda doubt it. I think he probably knows almost everything that there is. He's probably going to be approaching the next episode with a newfound determination to find Gemma. That's my crackpot theories, my reactions, my thoughts, just those things that came to my mind when I was watching this episode. What do you guys think? Did you guys like this episode? Please put your thoughts on this episode in the comments. And if you liked this video, hit the like button to let me know that you like it. And if you want to hear more things from me, subscribe to this channel. Later.